Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
Hello and welcome to the new Travel Monthly Review Show January 2024 edition with our panel Will Plummer, Claire Steiner and James Clark. In our review shows, we'll look at some industry pressing issues and look at the landscape in front of us, getting insider knowledge from our expert panel. In this episode, we'll be learning more about those three industry hobnobs as we tackle what lies ahead in 2024. Yes, we'll be looking at the 2023 trends that shone through, 2024 predictions for what will bring change, the latest consumer travel behaviour reports, what do travellers really want from their holidays, the challenges of domestic and inbound travel when we'll be joined by Jill Haig from Cumbria Tourism. Not least, and not last, we'll look at journeys beyond the British seas before we head into the quick quiz. Are my panellists true industry experts, or do they need to be sent back to travel school? I'm your host, Ryan Haynes. Let's get on with the show.
Travel Market Life.
Joining me now, Will Plummer, CEO, Trust My Group. Will has worked in the travel sector for 20 years. For the past 12, he's run Trust My Group, which projects and processes payments for consumers from its worldwide travel providers, supporting over 1,000 members in 86 countries. Hey, Will, how are you doing there?
Hey, Ryan, very good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's that time of year we have to do this. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year, etc. So, yep.
We're still very early on. We haven't reached the end of January yet.
Well, okay, yeah. We're getting there.
We're good.
We're back in the swing of things. Yeah, exactly.
So, first question to you so the audience can get to know you better. When and where was your last holiday?
Last holiday was November. Long weekend in Porto with the wife to celebrate 20 years together. So, yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of walking, but always like a good city break.
On trend. You're a go-cationer then?
I do try. I like to think I've been on trend for 20 years, or maybe I'm just stuck in a rut that, keeps on going.
Now, where are you heading on your next travels?
So a few industry things. I'm in Brussels next month for the ECTA Travel Payments Summit, ITB Berlin, and then family holiday to South Africa and Botswana end of March, April time. So looking forward to that.
Sounds like you got something to look forward to after a very sexy lineup of business events. So the ECTA.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's ECTA? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that's the European Commission for Travel Agents and Tour Operators Association. They're basically a sort of legislative body based in Brussels, looking at the package travel directives, influencing governments, influencing the EU as a whole as to what it looks like for operators, what the directives do for them, how they can help promote them, help support these countries and companies within them. So very worthwhile. We think we've got something to contribute to them. Always interested to hear what they have to say. And they're very inclusive because they want lots of different voices from lots of different parts of the ecosystem.
Excellent. Well, I hope you come back and you share some of those conversations that you've had there.
Well, I'm coming back, but yes, I'll certainly share the conversations. Absolutely, yeah.
And then heading off to Botswana. Why Botswana?
I'm very fortunate. My father-in-law has an interest in a lodge over there. So we're going over there on family, which should be great fun and also on trend, I think, to the multi-generational travel. My business partner also lives in Cape Town. So we'll do a little bit of work as well, probably sample a few glasses of wine and see some games. So perfect trip, really.
Excellent. Now, looking back in the rearview mirror, 2023, what do you think was pretty poignant for the industry?
Yeah, I think I'm the naysayer in the group in terms of I know numbers were good. I know everyone is very buoyant about what they did. For me, there were a lot of buzzwords. There was ChatGPT, there was AI, there's sustainability. But at the very heart, I don't really feel there's been any meaningful development in terms of the industry. I think we've got massive regulatory issues. I know there are a lot of consultations, a lot of exploration around this, but I think we've got a bit bogged down in it, and we're always trying to paper over the cracks, and we're not necessarily looking holistically. I think as an industry, we've forgotten the lessons of the big C. There was a whole risk management system, whole risk management issue. I think we could be doing better, but financially, everyone did well. Everyone's happy. So it was a good, solid year. But I hope there is development. I hope when you come back to me in a little bit, to be able to predict lots of future development. But 23, good financially, not good in terms of moving forward holistically and actually.
It's funny because I do feel that we've fall back on our laurels somewhat. I was in a few
agree.
venues recently, and I was thinking, where's the cleaning gone? We suddenly forgot to clean. We had 2 years of clean. Now it's just like, oh, do I want to see another cleaning mop or cloth in their lives when you go into these venues, unfortunately. But I've seen that as well, sort of like hit across the rest of the travel industry, and I guess that's quite questionable as to sort of like how that will actually build consumers' confidence as well.
I think so. I mean, interestingly, there's some regions of Spain I saw this week who have reintroduced face masks because of a rise in sort of C cases. I refuse to say the actual words. But I still think, and we're fortunate, I think it's developed that it's not going to be the same danger it was before. But I don't think there's been enough development. I think, to your point, Ryan, everyone has sort of reverted to 2019.
Well, thank you, Will, and thanks for joining us as a panelist today. Now, over to Claire Steiner, UK Director of Global Travel and Tourism Partnership. Claire's worked in the travel sector for over 25 years, an experienced HR talent professional. GTTP inspires young people to build successful and responsible careers in travel and tourism. She is Director and Chair of Education and Training at the Institute of Travel and Tourism, where she co-founded the ITT Future You and is an advisory board member for the social enterprise Women in Travel. Quite an exhaustive CV there, Claire. I know you're all over the industry. You love it to bits. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
It's fantastic to have you contribute, and particularly with your background. But throw a couple of questions to you. So, what destination is of choice this year, perhaps?
You see, now this is a difficult one. I work in travel. We all do. And so we love to travel. And I have so many places I've been to that I'd love to go back to, but there are so many places I still have yet to go to. So for me, my next choice of destination will be the next place I go.
Okay, good enough answer for me. What about, this is one for you, what holiday destination would you care to forget?
Okay, we had a giggle about this, and he will not be pleased me saying this, but I would say West Africa. I won't say where, but I was doing some work out there, and I met my husband out there, and that was 20 odd years ago. And so, for good and bad reasons, that destination has, emotes different feelings, I would say.
Oh, isn't it amazing how travel really does bring up all sorts of emotions? And now, looking at you in your rearview mirror again, how did 2023 left it mark for you in particular in regards to the industry?
I think in a number of ways. One, I think the continuing evolvement of the workplace, and we're seeing that is as we come out of the what we call AD, the after distancing years, as opposed to BC before COVID. So I think we will continue to see that change, and I think it's going to change in different ways, and there are a lot of things that people want that they aren't necessarily going to get, and I think we're going to be reevaluating. I think that the workplace itself is changing enormously and will continue to change and evolve. Some of it will be positive, some of it may be seen as negative, for some people, but I think that we will continue to look at how we will survive as an industry and actually create workplaces that people want to be at, but also those that create places that deliver the experiences and the business that we're in. I know we're going to talk about it. We'll mention it. AI. Listen, it may not have gone anywhere yet, but it really slapped everyone in the face. I mean, ChatGPT seemed to have come out of nowhere. Suddenly, AI was on everybody's lips. So for me, that was a big thing. And I think the other thing, which I think is a really real positive thing that we're seeing in travel, is the growth in B Corps that we're having. We're seeing more and more industry companies becoming B Corps. And I think that's a really positive thing, not just from the ethical part of it, but also just showcasing how seriously our industry is taking responsibility and sustainability.
It is interesting, particularly, and I've spoken to the Lamington Group that opened a hotel in Belfast just a few months ago, in fact, and sort of like how deep they have to go and ingrain that sustainability within and among their workforce, but also within the supply chain. And it's not an easy feat. You know, there's a lot of education that needs to go on there with your providers as well, and helping them understand what that all means. And obviously, that is a key part to becoming a B Corp and with holding that certification. So we'll delve a lot more certainly into the changing workplace in just a moment. So thank you, Claire, for becoming part of our expert panel here. Over to James Clark, General Manager of Travelzoo UK. He joined Travelzoo in 2018 and continues to grow the UK business of the global media company that publishes exclusive offers and experiences to 30 million members. He was previously CEO at Fleetway and has also served as a Code of Conduct Committee member for APTA. Hey, good day and Happy New Year to you, James. How are you doing?
Well, thanks, Ryan, and thank you very much for having me join you guys on this podcast.
Well, you made it back from Destination Show in Manchester, and I'm glad that your head's in one piece because you weren't entirely sure after the Globe Awards last night. How was this week?
So, yeah, it's been a busy week this week. You know, it's one of those weeks where you come out of Christmas, you think I'm going to have an easy landing, no, straight back into it. So the awards were excellent. It's always great to catch up with, you know, industry colleagues, folks and friends. So that was great. And the entertainment and the whole event was brilliant, as it always is. It's kind of the first event of the year, as we like to call it. And the Destination Show was really, really encouraging. I'm really pleased to report back that you know, there's a very strong demand again for travel. It's very apparent with the members that we met, both new and current members, that the desire for travel is ever present. And in particular, it was great to find out, you know, where our members are looking to book this year and what, you know, kind of what the trends were. And it's always great to hear that, you know, kind of certain buzzwords, but from a destination perspective, Asia was mentioned a lot of times. So the likes of Japan and the Far East. So that was very popular. Expedition cruising was mentioned a lot. People wanting to go a bit further afield and do things like Alaska and Arctic. And there was lots of cities. Porto was mentioned actually by more than one member as either a destination they've just been to or they're about to go to. So Porto actually was very popular.
Excellent. And now, yeah, I mean, it sounds like, you know, there's a bit of change that's happening within consumers and what they're looking for. Is that certainly particularly different to what you've seen since prior to the Big C?
Yes, I think what the Big C, as we like to call it, brought around was like an injection in the arm to those travellers, the consumers out there, to kind of relook at their travel plans and, you know, maybe consider, have I been doing something quite repetitive with the way I book travel, going to the same destinations or the same resorts, or in many cases, the same hotel year after year. So I think what it's allowed members to do and consumers alike is to look at kind of the globe and go, right, let's start again. Where haven't I been, or where would I have always wanted to go to? And let's maybe rip up the old list and write a new list. And I really am a believer that that's what we're seeing in travel both last year and we'll continue to see this year.
So for you, what stood out as a key change in the industry last year?
Look, I could be cliche and point to AI. It's an easy win, but I'm sure we'll talk about that and for the reasons why I don't believe it was the big talking point. For me, the real standing point was the record-breaking performance that operators had, from the very small niche operators all the way through to the very largest operators. And I think that was the first time really as an industry that was kind of the largest trend we've seen. Everyone was reporting strong growth, strong revenues, recruitment was up. All these kind of big ticks were happening for the first kind of significant year after the Big C.
I mean, it's a matter that we need to give ourselves a pat on the back. We need to be positive and, put in the hard work, and we see the gains. And I think, as you say, that would hopefully improve some of the productivity issues that we've got, particularly facing the UK at the moment. Right. Well, thank you very much, James, for joining us here on the panel. Pleased to have you.
Travel Market Life.
Gazing into their crystal balls, they are ready to share some of their insights on what they think 2024 is going to bring. From the most ridiculous to the most likely, what have Claire, Will, and James got in their sights? So over to James to start off with. What are you expecting to see in 2024?
Thank you. So I think the first thing, Ryan, we've all seen it because we watch TV, we listen to the radio, but there's a very clear dominant few players in the industry, and I'm a big believer that they will only continue to get bigger. So the likes of EasyJet Holidays and a Jet2, they're the two biggest at the moment, growing both atoll numbers, routes, destinations, air capacity. Everything is being increased by them as they look to take more of that pie that is shared out across so many operators across the UK. So that would be the biggest forecast. And I say big two because I think TUI are falling down that kind of atoll number list, and the likes of Jet2 and EasyJet are also eating away at their numbers. So that would probably be my biggest prediction for this year. And alongside that, some consolidation in the industry. It's nice to see some of the operators like the likes of Hayes, who are consolidating in the market, particularly on the high street, and bringing more retail branches. And that's not a bad thing. A lot of people look at consolidation as a potentially way where businesses are going to shift costs and cut heads. The likes of a Hayes are looking just to grow their network. So they're taking on businesses, they're keeping their presence on the high street, which is only a good thing. And as a business like Hayes are very good recruiters. They do great apprenticeship schemes. They look to drive people through the business and kind of continue their growth trajectory through the business. So they're the two biggest ones that I'd say stand out for me. And then the kind of one on the side would be Cruise. I think Cruise is going to have a fantastic this year in 2024.
I mean, it's interesting, particularly when we talk about consolidation. Obviously, Hayes have announced yet another acquisition in recent few days, and it's wonderful to know that these businesses aren't going to die and disappear. That people's jobs are saved, that there is still an access for consumers in the local area to be able to access some of these businesses. But I think we're seeing consolidation, acquisition across the board, aren't we? Really, when it comes to the wider travel industry, and it'll be interesting to see how that consolidation will play its part in regards to services and suppliers in the back end of the industry as well. So over to Will. You had some similar thoughts here to what James was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. The strong are going to get stronger, and adding to EasyJet and Jet2, the Expedias, the Bookings of this world, they are the strong brands. They're developing the tools that make it accessible to the consumers to actually buy these products, and I think that is where a lot of the market share is going to continue to go, and that's what we're going to see. I think there'll be a growth of sort of in-destination spend and time. I mean, I have seen some statistics that say actually the number of trips that people are going to take isn't going to decline. I don't share that optimism, really. I think people will be spending on an aspirational trip, spending more money on it, but probably taking fewer trips, and doing more things in destination, really trying to get underneath the skin of a destination, really enjoy it, really do the sort of local tours, local activities. And I really see that sort of coming to fruition. So that's exciting. I think we all agree as sort of aspirational travelers, that's what we like. That's what gets us hooked into travel. And then just ridiculous. And I think possibly my crystal ball is dirty, but all travel will be affordably financially protected. It doesn't matter whether it's a package, whether it's two or more elements. There will be a way where the consumer's money is at the forefront of everything. It doesn't penalize the operator. It doesn't protect the funds multiple times at to penalize acquiring banks. It will just be really simple, really transparent, and the industry will just work. But as I say, I fear that my crystal ball is a little bit dirty.
It almost sounds like you want blockchain to come.
I thought we'd ruled out dirty words, but yeah, I mean, let's it's okay because AI will solve it. So we're okay. AI on top of blockchain and sort of a regulatory shake-up. That's my ridiculous prediction for 24.
Thank you, Will.
No
From business and industry to someone who really focuses on people, Claire, what are your thoughts around your what's going to come in 2024?
Well, I think I've said it before, but I think we're going on to AI at the moment. I think we're kind of where we were 30, 35 years ago when the internet came around, when everyone jumped up and down, went running around going, oh my goodness, this is going to change everything. And all these jobs are going to go. It's the death of the high street. And we all panicked. And none of us were actually really aware of what it could do for us. And I think we're at that stage now with AI. I think it's great that hopefully we've learned lessons from the past, though, you know, I think we, as we talked about, maybe we haven't been reflective enough on lessons learned. But I think AI will continue to dominate. Certainly every conference I think we go to will have AI on it. But I think it'll be really interesting to see how that will affect how the workplace is seen and the sort of what they're now calling the AI generation with new people coming into the workplace. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. And I mentioned earlier, you know, I think we'll see this continuing change to the workplace. And I think that the challenges there is we're seeing a lot of new trends, and some of them are literally just trendy trends around, you know, workplace requirements of the next gen. And I think some people are doing a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to that. But I think we will spend 24 maybe being a bit more reflective about what we actually need as a business and how that works and how we can match that with the requirements of the next generation. And James, you know, alluded to that slightly with people like Hayes being great at sort of developing staff and bringing new people on. And that is really key. And I mentioned about B Corp and ethics earlier. And I think, again, that's something that younger people that we talk about, Gen Z, the Zillennials, and the alphas that are going to start coming through in the next 5 to 10 years. But actually, that's for all of us. We all now feel, and I think because we've been so much more reflective over the last few years, what we do and why we do it is increasingly important to us in that, you know, working to live, not living to work mentality that we're all changing to. And I think, you know, for me also, I think we're going to see a continuing rise in wellness. And I think that's from an employee as well as a client perspective. And I meant to mention this, but I don't know if you've read anything recently, but the Ozempic era, that people are starting to talk about this. And Ozempic is one of these new drugs that are there for weight loss, these new weight loss drugs that are coming in. And this maybe is one of my more crazy sort of predictions I should have come up with. But what people are now predicting as a result of this is that because people's health is getting much better, they're going to start choosing holidays based on what they can get there. So hotels that offer, you know, healthy options and they're more active and, you know, smaller portion sizes and calories on the menu, all those sorts of things we're sort of seeing anyway. But there's a feeling that this new era of wellness, which is some of which is being driven by these weight loss drugs, that might happen. That's saying these weight loss drugs, you know, a lot of them are now coming under further investigation. And so we'll just wait and see.
Was that a Skift article?
Yes.
I read the same article myself just before Christmas. In fact, it got a couple of my clients very fascinated by what that would mean to their business if they could actually fly more people around the world.
It is fascinating because you're also hearing on the other side of it, you know, the move for airlines to stop, you know, this challenge about the very, very overweight people and taking up to, should you be charging them more to fly? You know, what is their rights? And you know, and from an employment perspective, you know, I'm waiting for the day that size will become a protected characteristic because people have the right. Now, I mean, you know, that may be a way off, but there are mutterings in the HR world about that already and have been for some time.
Right. Well, we're going to be kind of exploring a bit more around people in HR, certainly in a moment when we're going to hear from Jill Haig from Cumbria Tourism. But first, I want to explore some of the travel behaviour, some of the data, diving deep into what consumers and travellers have been saying and Booking.com's latest research report.
Travel Market Life.
Apparently, reinvention is a big theme for 2024. A whopping 68% of travellers believe they transform into the best version of themselves while roaming, and 37% tell fictional stories about their lives. Will, you strike it as though you're someone who might not necessarily tell the full truth when you're on holiday.
I don't quite know how to take that. Look, there's a degree of escapism, isn't it? I mean, a holiday for me is escaping the norm. It's the change, but it's also discovering a new destination, discovering the sights, the sounds, the smells of that destination, and the effect that that has on your body and soul. To Claire's point around that sort of wellness side of things. So I do kind of take that. And I think that's what people look for. I think that's why all these reports are talking about aspiration and being reinventing yourself, escapism, is that kind of thing. In fact, it might have been this morning, I was listening to the radio, and someone was saying that one of their friends, when they travel, literally they've collected all this pent up aggression and frustration in their lives, and then they get to the airport and they just offload. That's the point in time that it all sort of comes out. I'm not that person. Well, speak to my wife. I don't think I'm that person anyway, but I do think that, we all have jobs, we all do different things in our lives, whether it be children, whether it be the routine of everyday life. Travel is that change from the norm. It is normally costs a lot of money. So, you want to enjoy it. And I think that's when people don't enjoy their holiday, it's because they haven't put themselves in, or they've been let down, yes, occasionally, but it's literally that you don't kind of reinvent yourself into where you are and what you're doing.
Now, are you, though, one of the 42% that rent a swankier car than you drive at home?
No. Do you know what? When I'm one of the 58% that rent a sort of smaller version of a car, shove the family in, suitcases on these, job done. It's no longer automatic. The air conditioning barely works, but we're getting from A to B, and this is proper living. This is proper driving like it used to be.
Wow. And Claire, James, do either of you rent a swankier car when you're on holidays?
No, I'm just like Will.
No, I'm exactly the same. The only time I might do it was if I ever make it to Cuba, and I'd love to rent one of those lovely, famous, the 1950s cars, and I would probably splash out for that. But no, and actually most of the time I'll take the bus, if I'm absolutely honest.
I don't think I've got a choice, because I think every car's swankier than the one I drive at home. So there we are. I'm one of the 42%. Another stat here, 52% of travellers want to book trips where the destination remains a mystery until they arrive. Have you ever done that, or have you ever done it for someone? I've got a friend of mine who was taken to Vienna, and they flew on Ryanair, and her partner did this surprise trip, and she covered her head when she got to the airport, put her fingers in the ears or her headphones on when they're going through the airport, didn't see the tickets, nothing, even when they were on the plane. And when they arrived at Ryanair, so they were set on different seats in different locations of the plane. And when they arrived, a guy next to her tapped her on the shoulder, took her headphones off, and he goes, "Do you know how to get to Vienna?" And she was like, "Oh, so we're in Vienna then." Have you ever done anything like that for yourself or someone else?
That takes you back to, well, we'll remember this, but remember the old deals you used to buy, the old square deals where you could find out only some elements of your trip. So you could either know the hotel, the location, and the board basis. And I remember, this is going back when your parents used to probably look on teletext or walk into an estate agent and they had the old black and white screen. But I remember very vividly going on holiday with my parents. We knew which country we were going to, but we didn't know what hotel we were staying in or what resort we were staying in. And I have to say, we ended up at some very obscure places. And I've often said that one of my biggest learning curves when I was a child was when everyone was going to Spain, I was sharing a house in Turkey with another family, because they had basically turned their bottom half of their house into some kind of rental property that we were put in. And it was very obscure. It was a great holiday. I learned a lot. But that, and I also remember ending up at a hotel once. I didn't even have the swimming pool wasn't complete. And yeah, it was a few of those. But that's what puts that, the travel hair on your chest, so to speak. That's what gives us thick skin, because we've done all of that.
Oh, it's amazing. I remember, those late night flights as a young kid, being 8 or 9 years old, and they got the coach when you got to the airport, and then they had to drop you off at all the different resorts. And we turned up at a resort about 2 o'clock in the morning, and my parents were like, really? Is this where we're meant to be staying? And yeah, it all came to light the next day, and you just realized that you may as well be in a prison cell. But that was, again, the joy of traveling, and you spent most of the time just exploring the local area, just so you didn't have to go back to the hotel.
Let's all recall, we used to book holidays with the motivation of one image, and if we were lucky, maybe two in a brochure. That is what allowed us to book a holiday. We were like, if that photo of the hotel and the local beach was good enough, that would motivate us to exchange and do a deal.
I mean, there's so many of those Insta stories, isn't there, where there's beautiful pictures, and tourists are turning up now, and they're complaining that it's not as beautiful as it looks in the Instagram stories. Yeah, I think I would rather go back to that simpler time where everything's going to be a surprise. Right, so that's some of the consumer trends that we looked at from Booking.com. We're going to look now at domestic and inbound, where we'll be exploring what we're going to see from staycation and domestic market and changes in 2023, and if they're going to be here to stay.
Travel Market Life.
So we recently saw the published report from Visit Britain that showed some of the insights that the overall forecast for spending by international travellers in the UK this year is 34.1 billion. That's up 7% on the spending predicted in 2023 and up 20% on 2019. Now, that's not adjusted for inflation rates. That's a huge increase of spend, isn't it? I mean, are you seeing that play out among some of the travel providers that you work with and within the industry itself? Do you see UK as a destination?
Yeah, so from our perspective, there's probably two sides of this coin from a travel zoo. We have products that we contract ourselves in the UK, so UK hotels and UK breaks, as well as operators who are providing us deals, who we work with, so we can see both sides. But let's be honest, prices are ultimately higher than they were, pre-C and going back to kind of 2019. And there's lots of elements at play. Let's bear in mind, let's say if we look at that kind of textbook £99 a night deal that we would sell so often at Travel Zoo for kind of like a cozy getaway. But these prices are now more like 119, 129. And that's not just because of the price that the partner that we're working with, this hotel, is paying for staff or food or electricity. There are so many different elements that are now increased for them. So it's not just an overall inflation figure, which a lot of that is wrapped up into. You then have to look at all the other pieces that are affecting the way that they have to cost and manage their property. And it's vastly different. It's vastly different scenario that they're in to when they were pre-19. So prices are ultimately up. But probably the tendency that has also happened is you've got to remember that the UK had a fantastic year when it opened up and international wasn't open up. That, everyone made hay. Properties put their prices up very quickly. Pubs and restaurants were enjoying all this kind of inbound traffic. And when we were allowing a few tourists in, they were making great money and it was all working well. But now you've got the other counter to that, which is outbound tourism is starting to really boom again. And they've got to make the revenues that they were making during those highs. So there's a lot of different elements at play.
Don't you think, though, as well, James? I'm interested to sort of come back on that. I think what we've done, though, as a result of the Big C, is we've packaged up Britain better. We found inventive ways of actually, uncovering, hidden secrets. That when people were on their staycations, they went to different places. people opened up their homes, they opened up new sort of tourist spots or tours and activities. We put that infrastructure in place because we only have that kind of staycation traffic. And now it's expanded into the inbound travel as well. So we've become attractive to the inbound travel. So I think, there is the challenge with the outbound across all the figures, but I do think domestic and inbound is actually in a pretty good place. And especially, my gloom and doom predictions are that unfortunately, when mortgage rates kick in again with the election later this year, money is going to get tighter. I do actually see that with this infrastructure, staycation will be attractive again. It will see some of its money, and it's become more attractive to the inbound visitors to the UK who might have gone to a different destination because of what we put in place.
I mean, it's interesting. Visit Britain also published some data in and around the UK staycation market, and less than a third of families are planning a UK city break in 2024. Only 27% planned a longer staycation for this year, which is down from 40% and 35% respectively last year. So that's a significant drop. And families are planning to take fewer holidays, with 33% looking to take an overseas holiday, which is down from 37%. So it does sort of play there to your thoughts there, Will, in and around what we might be expecting from British travellers.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the problem with all these numbers is you can read into them what you want to, really. You've got, there was a report from ATO saying 89% of all their bookings were up in terms of value. Skyscanner are saying that there are the same number of trips being booked. I know that's outbound. I think there's going to be penny pinching. I think what we're talking about now, and it'd be really interesting, when we come back in a few months' time to see what the second half of the year looks like, because I'm afraid I think there's some more pain to come, which will then change what domestic looks like. But I do think inbound is actually potentially in quite a strong place.
Thank you very much. So we're going to look and hear from Jill Haig now, the Managing Director at Cumbria Tourism, who's sharing her viewpoints from the ground. And I asked her, what are the challenges facing Cumbria Tourism and hospitality businesses in 2024?
As a membership organisation, have a kind of unique position, I suppose, where we're able to speak directly to hundreds of businesses on a really regular basis. And the two themes that have been coming up for a number of years now are very much around skills and staff shortages. And also, of course, the impact in terms of rising costs for businesses and also for our consumers. So I think if I was to go out and do a quick sample today of our membership and beyond, they would be definitely the two things that are right at the top of their agenda.
So for a rural area like Cumbria, what are the solutions that you're working with in around your membership?
So if we break it down and we start with the skills and challenge around shortage of people of working age, that in some ways that's probably the biggest one, and then we'll come to the other. We are a population of less than 500,000, and yet we welcome over 40 million visitors every year. And not only are we a small population, but we are a super aging and declining population. Super aging meaning that more and more people within the county are economically inactive because they're past working age or they don't need to work. So that is really, really challenging. And in the past, of course, we've had the freedom to bring workers in from Europe and other parts of the world. And clearly, over the last few years, that position has changed. At the same time as we've come out of COVID, and we found that many people have chosen to step away from work or not work as many hours, or have chosen to go into professions and areas of work that weren't as badly hit as the hospitality sector was. So that's created a renewed emphasis, desire, need, force for trying to use every opportunity that there is to increase the sort of work pool, if you will. So businesses led by organisations like ourselves are working really closely with partners, including Department for Work and Pensions, Inspirer, working with people with disabilities, even looking at things like people who are coming out from prison sentences and looking for a fresh start, and of course working with our young people here in Cumbria. But what is it that we need to do to make this a place where our young people actually want to stay at 18? We've got a fantastic University of Cumbria here in the county, as well as some great further education colleges that we partner with. So we're working with all of those partners to look at, well, what are the workforce needs in the first place? And then working with the colleges so that they help us to develop programs, and then obviously working in terms of a campaign to attract younger people to go on to those, and then also working with partners to look at those people who are out of work and who want to work or who need to work, to help make the pathway into our sector as attractive as possible. There are some incredible opportunities. Businesses are very attuned to the fact that they need to support their staff to get a really good, strong work balance, because it's no good just employing somebody. You want to retain somebody, especially if you're going to invest that skill, that time in upskilling them. But it's going to take time, and in all truthfulness, and this is my personal view, we won't fill that gap from Cumbria alone, because we do not have enough people who are needing employment in the places where the employment is.
From businesses then to travellers. So consumer spend and travel is due to be down in 2024, Jill. How will Cumbria attract tourists to remain buoyant?
What we've seen, I think, over the last couple of years, it's fair to say, is that people are still coming, which is great. But they're being more circumspect in terms of their spend. So let's say they're going to stay in the county overnight, but they're choosing perhaps to eat out less as part of that holiday experience, or they're choosing to do some things that some activities that are not paid for, free activities, if you like, a walk, a walk, or going to some of the free venues that there are. So I think it's what we call our secondary spend that's suffering. I think all of us understand that the cost of living for businesses and for us as consumers has gone up. But there are lots and lots of things to do here in the county. And also, I think one of the things that I would also say to people is it's not all about coming June, July and August. We are open in other months of the year. And it's thinking about, well, actually, would it be a better time for me to come in the autumn or in the early spring? In the winter, where perhaps there are some deals around.
So Claire, I mean, there's some interesting points, particularly that she raised in regards to sort of people to be able to manage actually all the tourists coming to the area. What sort of approach are you seeing as helping businesses particularly sort of recruit and attract the right people?
Well, first, I think I have to commend her, because I think what they're doing is spot on. Engaging with your local colleges and your local universities is absolutely critical. I think, one of the things that we need to promote, and we this is a drum I've been beating for years, that as a sector, we're not very good at promoting ourselves as employers. And I think we need to do a lot more myth busting around it. One of the things that is really key is that for young people, in terms of a first job, the skills they learn working in hospitality or, in tourism companies at that early stage in their career gives them skills that they can transfer anywhere and that will stay with them for life. And I don't think there are many people in our industry at a senior level or any level who haven't had some job in hospitality throughout their lives. They get customer service, and our industry revolves around that. And I think, once they're in, as she said, we want to keep them. So we need to work with them and talk to your staff around employee engagement. What do they want? One of hospitality's biggest challenges, of course, is you can't be as flexible in terms of, you can't work from home when you're a bar staff and you're working in hotels and stuff. So it's about how do you make those jobs work for the people that are coming in, and the way they're doing it. And again, I really like this, is they're looking for what I call hidden talent. She mentioned things like prison reform programs, which are great. The work I do with women in travel is another similar one, where we look at women who've been disadvantaged through many different reasons and get them back into the workplace. But then there's this whole other area of hidden disabilities, as well as obvious disabilities. Neurodiversity is a big one, and a lot of these people are looking for work and can be really valuable employees, and a lot of them will probably be more loyal employees because you've given them that chance. There are something like 330 million jobs currently globally supported by travel and tourism, right? That's huge, but we have a huge deficit of that. And the large HR company Corn Ferry predicted at the end of last year that by, I think it was 2029, so the end of the next decade, or this decade, I should say. Gosh, where are we? That 85 million jobs we would not be able to fill. There'll be 85 million. Now, this is good. This isn't just in our sector. This is across the world, right? In every sector, there will be 85 million jobs that would no one to fill them. That's huge. And so we are fighting against all these other industries to try and get these people in. So we have to give them good opportunities for development. We have to make the barriers to entry a lot easier to get through. That can be for young people as well. You know, we're currently fighting this big defunding proposition on qualifications in this country, and there's a lot going on with that. So, you know, we have to get out there and have to start thinking differently.
Absolutely. And the extended interview with Jill will be available in an upcoming podcast where she delves deeper, particularly into the apprenticeship schemes and the partnerships that she's got in the region. And she touches on some other interesting subjects, particularly booking around shoulder peak periods, which I think we can take as an opportunity to delve into next time. But that's the end of our looking at the industry and what's happening. We're going to be moving on to the quick quiz, where we challenge the industry experts to see if they actually have the knowledge about the sector.
Travel Market Life.
Okay, right, guys, are you ready for the quick quiz?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes. Very, very fearful, but let's go.
All right. Okay. So I asked you each to bring a buzzer, a bell, or a horn, or something that makes an instant noise. Okay, James, what's yours? Thank you very much. Claire. Okay. Yes, I can definitely hear that one. Will. Excellent. Right. Okay. So we have a xylophone, we have a mobile phone buzzer, and we have a bell, people. So thank you. Let's see how this goes. We have 5 questions. Let's see which of you get the answers, and we'll tally them up at the end. And so, are you ready? First question is an attraction question. Cadbury's World in Birmingham is marking a very special anniversary this year. But what number birthday is it? James.
Shot in the dark. 100 years?
Ooh, no.
I was going to say 150.
Okay, and Will?
250.
Oh, okay, that's a draw there between Claire and Will. It's 200 years.
Oh, wow.
Right, okay. Now, a history question. In what year was TripAdvisor founded? Will?
1996.
No. James?
I'll go for 99.
No. Claire, do you want to punt?
92.
No. James, you were closest. It's the year 2000.
Where's the Ken Bruce 1 year out?
We're really showing our age when we recognise.
Well, that's true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That might be copyright as well.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Okay, geography. Are you ready? You should know this as tourism specialists. How many countries in the world currently have more than one capital city?
Ooh.
Will?
2.
No. Go on, Claire.
17.
No. If only you can see what James is doing here. On a podcast, it's just not possible. James.
Yeah. I'm going to try to go with 5.
No, the closest was Claire, but the answer is 13. And there's 3 in Europe. Georgia,
Okay.
Montenegro, and the Netherlands.
Wow.
Okay, well done, Claire. You are just about in the lead there. Okay, destination question. How many tourists, did Jill say, does Cumbria host annually? James?
400.
Oh, no, 40 million. Was it?
Yes, over
Yes.
40 million. Well done for paying attention. Claire, I think you're about to say 400 something, weren't you?
I got it wrong. I was thinking of the population, not the, I remember the 4.
So Claire and James are now head to head with 2 points and Will with 1. Let's see what happens now. An airline question. Which plane model was recently grounded in the USA? Will?
737 MAX 9.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well done. You are now you are now equal. So 2 points each. Bonus question. Which airline experienced a panel blowing off mid-flight? Oh, Will.
Alaska
Alaska
Airlines.
Airlines. Okay, Will, well done. You won with a bonus point. Congratulations. I don't have a round of applause sound, but if I did, it would be rupturing right now. Well done.
What a comeback. What a comeback.
Wasn't it just? Yeah. So obviously someone pays attention to the news. Well done. Okay, so I'd like to thank my panelists. We've got Claire Steiner, Will Plummer, and James Clark, who've been joining us today to really delve into some of the industry issues for January's edition of the Travel Monthly Review Show. Thank you ever so much, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. You can join more of our podcasts through any of your podcast channels, whether that's Spotify, Apple, or Deezer, or any other channel through travelmarket.life and LinkedIn. Please subscribe or join our newsletter.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.